Hello and welcome to Wellbeing Wednesday. This week we're going to be talking about, what was the topic, Matt?
Nature therapy.
Nature therapy.
Well, an introduction to it.
An introduction to nature therapy.
Our body and our system, we designed to engage with nature. It's without getting too in depth in it, our nature's an ecosystem, and every animal or being or plant or lives encompassing this ecosystem works together. And a lot of time humanity and people are drawn out of that ecosystem, which causes an imbalance. It's like we don't get our nutrients, I suppose, from nature, so we become stressed and disconnected and end up in an emotional state or a mental health state, or have some form of issues, problems. Another element of it is touch. I like feeling this tree. Now,
Tree yoga.
Oh, proven to actually work now, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this flyer
Phyton size.
Phyton size. I do know what I'm talking about. It's just pronunciation.
Yeah.
So it's when you're walking past them, so you're getting you're absorbing this. When you touch it, and it's like if you touch a human, you have a hug, you feel that energy. So if you want to have good energy with a tree, and even that split moment, you feel that connection. So in terms of touching, you can look at different leaves. So you pick up different leaves, and these ones are wet. Some might be rougher, and it's just that feeling and the touching, and it's actually quite nice. And it's that engagement with nature. You can touch.
It's like a bit leathery.
Yeah. So when you're doing these things and your feet, and even the smells, if you take a deep breath in now, what can you smell?
It's just earthy.
And you can smell a bit of the water,
Yeah.
and like when we first started, the sound of the river, and they say water running is one of the most relaxing sounds for humans.
Yes.
And they do recommend you should spend, it's always 20 minutes. I don't know why it's always 20 minutes, like barefoot 20 minutes a day. But 20 minutes in the listening to water will actually, boost your well-being. It's a natural sound that, I guess, because it stimulates, goes back to times when you're in the womb, that kind of watery sound.
Yeah.
So it's comforting. So you've got touch, you've got sounds, you've got feeling, and then you've got colours. So if we just spin around, autumn, winter. So it's like traditionally, but you look around, you've got these greens over here. Yeah. Over here you've got a bit of slightly reddish leaves over here, like orangey here. Yeah. Different shades of green. And you could sit, we could take a spot and sit and just look at the different colours. But not only does that kind of give us this connection with nature, and we're obviously getting those chemicals, and we'll come to fractal patterns at another point in Wellbeing Wednesdays. Yeah. But that's to do with the structure and shapes of what we're looking at, and how our eye movement is, and how that affects our brain process. But that's in another little Wellbeing Wednesday.
Yes.
So by putting all these together, and also it's not about, it is about the interaction, but it's also about taking our brain away from that stressful work, artificial lights, straight corners, rigid, human built, man-made stuff, and it gives our brain a chance to step away from that and engage in something else. And it's kind of like, a lot of people say they can't meditate because they can't sit there and do that, but walking in the woods for 20 minutes or half an hour, and that is meditation, because you're taking the stress away, because you're encouraging different thought processes.
So of course meditation, the neurology of it, and again we'll come back to this in another video, the neurology of it is just literally slowing down your brainwave patterns. And we eventually get down to a point where it's, just catch Matt up, and we eventually get down to a point where it's almost sleep. Right, okay, so Matt's noticed a tree. We'll go there and we'll have a look at some of the Shinrin-yoku stuff. There's loads of research there if you want research, and I'll put links on.
Yeah, we can drop them in the
so in Japan, So Shinrin-yoku, if you haven't guessed, is Japanese. And it means forest bathing.
Yeah.
It's an ancient practice
Yep.
that has been studied and put in place.
Yep.
So a primary care physician in Japan will prescribe a course of Shinrin-yoku before antidepressants. So I feel a bit like I'm plagiarising, because first thing done here is shoes and socks off.
Photo influence, eh?
Yeah, so a lot of these things are very similar. So this is a bit contrived, because the first thing we would do is make sure that we've got no technology. So there's the general distraction stuff, but then there's also radio waves and energy flow. You know, if we've got microwaves buzzing around,
Well, yeah.
then it's going to affect our brainwave patterns as well, isn't it? Of course it is. Forest bathing sessions should be about 3 to 4 hours and involve lots of aspects. So we're only concentrating on a small element of it at the moment. So we're going to come off the path, and this is the aimless wandering element. So there's a great book about this called Walking in the Woods, and it's by Yoshifumi Miyazaki. So Matt's found something, or something's come into Matt's attention, and he's going to it. And the next thing that he's going to do is he's going to experience it with all of his senses.
I was just looking at this tree really, actually.
Okay. So he's feeling around with his feet, and
Touch it as well.
yeah, if it's something that we can't pick up, then we get down to it.
Yeah, it's
Smell is a very important thing.
it's not a full in the river.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, it's nice. Bit of a feeling up the
So in reality, if we were to be doing this on our own, we wouldn't be speaking, we wouldn't have the camera, wouldn't have phones in pockets. You'd get somewhere fairly remote. I mean, you can do this at the side in like your local park, or you know, this is just a stream not far from our local town. But I mean, look how clear it is. That's beautiful.
You can even like, I just got my trousers knuckled up. You can even step in the river. And
Maybe not in January.
it's warm, I think.
Okay, so this process of forest bathing, we would move around many things, and it's about getting really like into the detail of it. So leaves are quite common.
These ones might be a bit more rustly. That's
Okay.
a nice sound, isn't
Yeah. And then we'd
it? Yeah, crunchy. Right?
feel the texture,
Yeah.
and you get that texture and sound.
Texture. Log. Twig.
Twig. Another thing I like to do is kind of look through and see how it
Yeah.
frames
Yeah, frames are the.
the rest
And
of the
even
environment.
manipulate it a bit as well. You know, to go that way.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're not damaging the environment, engage as much as you can. You know. And
Yeah.
yeah, manipulate it, move it so you can experience it if you don't damage it.
Yeah. And our process would obviously take a lot longer. This is a very brief introduction.
Yeah, of course.
And as we get more engaged with nature, we'd spend significant amounts of time just sat.
And it's like if
observing.
you're doing the gym, you know, you go to gym, you have a back day, you have a leg day, you have an arms day. You know, when you get into regularly doing this, you can have a sound day, a visual day, a touch day. You know, so you can go and spend.
Do you know, you wouldn't. and this may be one of the differences between Shinrin-yoku
Yeah.
and a more general nature-based therapy.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Shinrin-yoku is it's about that connection with the earth.
Yes. Yes.
So there's that biological element of letting those fighting sides absorb.
Yeah, and I think sometimes if someone's struggling with mental health issues, sometimes that aimless wandering, it can feel a bit overwhelming. And whereas it works fantastically, if somebody say with schizophrenia or voices, it's very difficult for them to settle. So that's why from a therapeutic practice, you might look at them individually and then introduce it as a whole package.
Of course.
And that's where the slight difference comes with them.
Yeah, and I look at this as more of an integrative thing.
Yeah.
So, looking at neurolinguistic programming.
Yeah.
One of the presuppositions of NLP is the unconscious mind is benevolent.
Yep.
And a big part of Shinrin-yoku is letting the unconscious mind take the driving seat.
And I totally agree. And it's like, I think sometimes when you have to, it's almost like from mental health, you have to help them to relax the mind first before it can open up into the benefits of it. So it's almost like, I don't know, if you're doing a course, you do like the sections and then go out and practice the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share these links with you. But Forest Bathing Central will tell you about, it's a little bit rocky on the foot, so Forest Bathing Central will tell you about a lot of the benefits and give you more information about the sciencey fighting side stuff. And it'll point you towards evidence that shows the benefits that forest bathing or Shinrin-yoku can have on our immune response. It can be anti-inflammatory.
Reduce blood pressure.
Good for the heart. Promotes sleep, enhance our mood. Regulate the nervous system. Even help regulate blood glucose.
It's fantastic. And I mean, if you're not particularly into the sciencey, but want to have a look, there's a fantastic book called Nature Fix by Florence Williams. And she's a journalist, and she was writing a book, and she went into it with the idea of exploring what it was, and it basically came out a nature therapy intervention or and forest bathing kind of advocate. So it's a fantastic book to read. It's actually someone who doesn't know a lot about it going in and doing their research, and you can just find out.
And I mean, so far we've talked a lot about like the mental health benefits and how this can help with depression and all of that kind of stuff.
Everyone should do it.
And, absolutely. And there's so many things. But do you run a business? Do you work in HR, employ people, manage people? Because if you look on the Forest Bathing Institute's website, that will point you towards that will direct you towards research that shows the impact that forest bathing can have on our capacity for creative problem solving.
And everyone has a level of stress, and by reducing that, you're more productive. So you could, I mean, obviously you don't say that every day, but even as a business kind of manager or employer, I think just like even once a month, giving your employees like a session for an hour minimum.
But there's also a lighter and more accessible side to this. In that there are studies that show that painting the walls green can improve our mood.
Even go out, take a photo of your favourite tree and stick it in your living room.
Absolutely.
And they've done research where they've put pictures and connected the neuro helmets, and it actually creates euphoria and also serotonin when you see pictures of nature you like.
There's a hospital study
That's in the Nature Fix book.
There's this that shows in a post-op recovery ward, two separate wards, one with a window over the car park and one with a window over the garden. People on the garden window ward recover faster than people on the car park ward.
And just interesting fact, occupational therapy was born, I suppose, out of the Second World War, and it was, you know, a lot of injured, well, they weren't veterans at the time, I suppose, but soldiers, you know, they were looking at ways to kind of speed recovery, because there's a lot of people who needed recovery and injuries. And OT was going to base stuff out of building these hospitals with outdoor space. And the original premise of it was nature-based therapy, and over time that's kind of, you know, still there, but it's not a prominent feature. But, you know, and it all stems from, you know, that's the basis of it.
We've got a bit warmed up now. Got a fire going.
Yeah, but I mean, Nature Connection, it's like lots of parts to it. But what did you kind of find your takes from it?
I'm coming at this from the Shinrin-yoku angle. Because that's what I've done more reading about. And I'm thinking about things like, there's a lot in there in those rituals about things like, you know, having a fire and all of that sort of stuff. It sounds complicated, but it's not.
And I think that's the reason why in my sort of clinical and sort of therapeutic take on it, I do break it down, because generally people who are struggling with, you know, sometimes quite severe mental health kind of struggles, you know, I mean, that's the clinical element, I suppose, breaking it down into an appropriate size for that person. If they're overwhelmed and they have too much information, it's going to be a struggle. So that's just, I mean, it's all the same principle, it's just the different approaches for the different situations, I think.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the clinical occupational therapy side of things. You know, it was fascinating what you were saying about like the veterans from the Second World War and the birth of occupational therapy, and I think the term in those days was outwards bound, wasn't it?
And terms change. I think it's nature, to me, in nature-based therapy is kind of the element of OT. I mean, obviously I'm, you know, in the mental health field of occupational therapy, but I think over time it's become less of a factor. It's been overlooked by a lot of clinical practices. We've got kind of moved away, I suppose, to a different approach. And to me, in my practice, about the element is the natural element of nature and how it heals. So it's not that I'm going against the grain of occupational therapists, it's a different approach. But it's becoming, in the last few years, a very powerful approach. And, you know, the College of OTs are actually looking at increasing nature-based therapy within their kind of ethos and remit. But it's not so much in England, but you look at South Korea, which have massive, like, they're undercover forests where people actually go to do Shinrin-yoku. And Japan, obviously, where it comes from. So, and there's a lot in Germany as well. Germany have a very nature-based focus, singing and healing. And as I was saying within our conversation, it's about going back to the nature element. And research is growing in that field, and you know, we can, you know, people want to know the research. I mean, there's plethora of it now. A lot from Germany and Sweden, in Europe, countries that are doing that. But yeah, I think it's in the UK, in my opinion, we've lost our way with that element, and it's, you know, there's kind of one approach you have to take, and that's the medical science route, which, don't get me wrong, has its benefit. And you know, with mental health, the pharmaceuticals, medicines
Yeah.
do work, but we're losing out on valuable treatment methods because we're very narrow. I think they're quite narrow-minded in the focus of treatment. It's one size fits all, and we need to bring in these additions.
Yeah, we have such fantastic resources.
One of the most beautiful green places I've ever been to in the world is England.
Absolutely, yeah, because it rains all the time.
Yeah, but yeah, just the amount of nature and diversity we
Yeah.
have is fantastic. I mean, look at this place.
Absolutely,
2 minutes from the town.
yeah, small things like parks to practice Shinrin-yoku, to engage in nature-based therapy. We don't. Yes, it's lovely to be deep within ancient woodland on the side of a mountain, but we don't need to be. We can just be in the local park.
And England,
In the
most
garden.
towns have a local park. And yeah, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, you know, design your garden. Like, don't just have a patio or a load of grass. Put some trees in, put some colours, put some bushes. You know,
Ditch the artificial grass.
yeah, oh, definitely. Yes, definitely. And that puts plastic in the water table and mud anyway.
Yeah.
But the element of, you know, making your garden so you can look out the window. You know, you might not be good with plants yourself, but you can stick some evergreen pots in the garden.
Yeah.
And it's something to look. So if you're looking out in your view and it's concrete or a tree or a bush, that's beneficial.
But even that, I mean, I know I'm not great with houseplants because I don't think to water them.
But there are plants you don't need to water.
So I'll go for cacti.
Yeah.
So I shall be looking for a cactus.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got a few that you could have a couple of.
Ah, thank you very much. Would it extend to building trees out of Lego? I've got a Lego woodland on the non-computer side of
I
my
mean,
desk.
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I live in the centre of town. I can't." But a plant, a picture, like we said before, a picture of a tree, and it's that connection, it's that stimulus, and when you get into fractal patterns and stuff, that's another element of it. But yeah, it's doing what you can, you know, and a Lego tree is better than a concrete wall. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that comes back to the green walls.
Yeah,
And the view over the garden rather than the view over the car park.
that's it.
Top tips.
Top tips. Yeah, I think find a space that suits you.
Yeah. Leave your tech at home.
Leave your tech at home. Allow yourself to release, and sometimes let the emotion out.
Be aimless. Let the unconscious mind take the driving seat.
And if something draws you, walk over to it and have a look. Explore.
Be open.
Yeah. Don't feel you're restricted by constraints. Be free, like a tree.
Use all your senses.
Yeah, definitely. Feel it. Be in the moment.
Yeah. Right, I think.
Oh,
Have you got more?
I was just going to say, one, don't feel you have to do it the way we've told you. It's your own experience.
Comment.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Tell us what you've done and what you like doing. Tell us how you get your nature fix.
Yeah. And you know, if you've got a way that you do it, you're not sure is right, drop us a question. We can help you. It probably is right because it's the way you're doing it. You're guided. I'm going to wander into the forest. Oh, shut that there, Phil.